Hi Siddharth, welcome
Hi.
to D2C Podcast by GoKwik. We are
I
finally here, doing this podcast with you, which was supposed to happen like few weeks ago. Super glad to have you. I have Amit also with me, who's CCO at GoKwik. He is
Hi,
joining us
Siddharth.
hi
on this
Amit.
podcast.
Hey
Thanks,
Chirag.
thanks, thanks for the introductions, Chirag. Excited to be here.
Siddharth,
Hey Chirag. Thanks for having me here. My pleasure.
super. We'll directly jump into interesting areas which our listeners would want to dive into. But before we do that, I think you have had a fantastic and a very different journey, wherein you were a B2B brand, and then that led to this journey of Snitch becoming a B2C play. How has that evolved? And I have seen numerous companies globally, you know, go that route where B2B was the mode. I've seen tech companies do that and then becoming B2C. But yours is very unique where, you started as a B2B play and then created a D2C brand out of it. Would love to know
Absolutely.
more about it. How have you gone about it?
Absolutely, Chirag. So yeah, I mean, my journey has been a little strange. So I started off my career at the age of 16, 17. So I was in a morning college shift. So post that, I opened a small retail store in Bangalore, which was about 350 square foot, wherein I used to sell these factory leftover clothes. Since we were in Bangalore, there are a lot of manufacturing units around which make a lot of stock for exports, and it was basically an export surplus store. Because apparel was always a passion to me. My dad was into jewelry. I was never interested in it, but fortunately got a store just next to the jewelry store, and then he was more than happy to like give me the permission to run both. So that's how I started off my journey. The store started doing really well. uh, you know a lot of other retailers were interested in buying stocks. So then I got into trading, wherein I used to procure more stocks, distribute to these retailers across India.
Mhm.
So this was going well until 2012. 2012, something very strange happened. So while dealing with these factories, there was one particular factory which was ready to sell out the fabric as well. And this was a beautiful shirt fabric. I had a buyer ready for it, worth about 20-25 lakhs. The transaction was, I didn't even have that money, borrowed it, and did that transaction because I was making about 2.5 lakh rupees out of it. And that time, that was like big money for me. And yeah, so I did that transaction, but to my bad luck, or my good luck, the factory had an audit and they couldn't dispatch it for like 20-25 days, post which the guy who committed to buy denied, saying it's too late and I don't need that fabric. I didn't even have space to keep that fabric. I kept it at a friend's garage. I had borrowed money, so I had to repay them as well. So that's when I made these small swatches of these fabrics and distributed in the network that I had built. And there was one particular retailer in Bombay who really loved the fabric. He had about 17, 18 stores at that time. And he called me up and he was like, Sid, can you make shirts? Because, the fabric is fabulous. So if you could convert them into shirts, I could bail you out of this situation. And he told me just do about 200-300 pieces as samples and send it out. And he hung up the call. That's when my hustle started. And I ran around big factories in Bangalore. They were not ready to do small MOQ. Found a very small unit, sat there for 3-4 weeks, understood the whole process of manufacturing. I didn't even know what is like an interlining, or what kind of threads or buttons do you use. Took help of my friends, and then understood the entire, at least the basic production phase in that 3-4 weeks. Designed those shirts myself and sent out those 300 samples. And over the weekend those shirts flew off his counter. Ended up converting that entire batch into shirts, and made 6.5 lakh rupees, while I was making 2.5 lakhs selling the fabric. That's when I understood, manufacturing is a bigger game. So from 2012 to 2019, this is what I was doing. I was doing productions for a lot of domestic brands, like for the likes of Wrong, Roadster. I've done productions for family retail stores like a V-Mart, D-Mart, etc. Scaled that business to about 50-60 crores of annual revenue. But then, while doing all of this, at the back of my mind, I always had that, someday I'm going to start my own brand. Then I observed a huge gap in the market, wherein typical typically all traditional brands were following one single pattern. So they used to curate collection season wise, either a summer collection or a winter collection. There was no one who was focusing, especially in the men's fashion industry. There was no one, focusing on a fashion that you could bring in on weekly or daily. And brands like H&M and Zara were doing that, and they were disrupting the traditional pattern. So again, that's how the idea of Snitch came in 2019. We started Snitch, again more like a B2B brand, wherein I used to distribute these stocks into a retail network that we'd built. We got tremendous response because brands were getting all these MBOs were getting new stock every single day. They did not have to predict their sales. Usually, if you have to go to if you have to buy a Benetton or a Levi's, they would put up road shows 6 months in advance, and then you have to predict your sales and book your orders. But here we used to give them new styles every single day, and that was like a turning point. We did about 7-8 crores in revenue as soon as we started the first year.
Wow.
But then 2020 March, the pandemic hit us. We were left with a huge inventory, and offline was completely shut. Our distribution model failed. And that's when the first idea was to either go on a marketplace like a Myntra or an Ajio and try and liquidate stocks. But then when I looked at it, it was all clustered already. We would be just one amongst the others, right? And A, we wouldn't be making any money there. B, we wouldn't get the brand would not get any recognition. That's how with a team of about 4 people, we started snitch.co.in on July 2020. With barely about 35 products on the website, and 2 racks in the corner of our warehouse was like a warehouse. I mean, in the office was like a warehouse. So that's how we started our journey. It's been about 24 months now. A good roller coaster ride. We've been, the first year we've grown, 1,000%. Second year we've grown at least by another 200%. And today we ship almost 85% of our orders through our own website and app. We have over 7 lakh downloads on the app currently. 35% plus revenue is generated through the app.
Wow.
Phenomenal numbers, and kudos to you. And I'm sure there's a equally capable and driven team. Which
absolutely.
We
we were a team of 4 when we started. Today we are a family of 110.
Stupendous growth. This one thing that caught my attention, Siddharth, you spoke about the shift from just the cloth in bulk to then making something and then moving on to creating an identity. This identity often, people call it different names for sake of simplicity. Let's say the brand Snitch today. Could you help us understand a little bit on the brand building aspects, which would be very appealing to anybody listening to this? Is how did you go about creating a niche for yourself in the very, very crowded market, as you already spoke about?
Look, like I told you, marketplace is flooded with labels, and most of them are unbranded. One thing that was very clear on my head was that we are going to create a brand and not a label, and that's been always the thought process. So initially, when we started the website, the first 10 days we were getting about 10-20 orders and we were all happy. But then it got flattened suddenly, because first 10-12 days your friends and family is helping you out, and there's that kind of buzz that's happening, and then suddenly you're like, what happened? Everything is flattened now. That's when we understood that about your Instagram ads, your Facebook ads, how Google works. And then we started with a very minimum budgets of 5,000 to 10,000 per day, kept it at a very good healthy ROAS, started building from there on. And then again we realized that this is again all like a push marketing. We need to do something towards pulling the audience to us. That's when we got deeper into content and creating a kind of brand persona to our consumers. It is very evident, right? Any brand that is built, it is built by your customers and no one else. You couldn't go to an agency and tell me, boss, build me a brand. That's not possible. So it is just understanding your customers. And I strongly believe the only way to build a strong brand is that do whatever you claim that you are. Right? If you say hassle-free returns and exchange, make sure it is hassle-free. If you say that you have free shipping, make sure it is free and that without a star at the corner. Or even for the kind of quality that you offer, we were very serious about each and every return. What is the reason for the return? And we were always obsessed about customers, right? I remember during the start, only me and Chetan, who's our CMO, used to handle the Instagram feed and the entire Instagram, chat. Night 2 o'clock, he's like, "Whom are you handling?" "I'm handling so and so person. You don't message him. I'm going to message. I'm messaging this person. You handle this guy." So this is what we were doing internally through WhatsApp and Instagram, unless we build that entire CRM. And now, of course, we have a great team. But yeah, I mean, it was very important for us to understand first what customers feel, and then delivering whatever that we promised. I think these are the two basic things to build a brand. And then, of course, it is about what do you want to showcase in terms of content, in terms of style. I mean, since our inception, we've promised that we will bring in new styles every day. And since our inception, there hasn't been one single day that there are no new styles on the website. So, I mean, just fulfilling every promise that we've said.
Walk the talk.
Absolutely.
Nice one.
I think this is fantastic, and this is very hard to do, right? I have run a similar business, which probably has lesser complication than running a fashion business. Inventory is a huge thing in direct-to-consumer businesses, and fashion is just heavily dependent on inventory. How do you manage that when you say that you have new styles every day? How do you manage that from an inventory point of view? Do you do any kind of demand forecasting? Do you use any softwares for that? That's one. And coupled question is that you mentioned that as a brand you would want to stand for certain things. I think it's a perennial question which a lot of brands ask us that, okay, how do you measure that? Are you standing up to it or not?
Correct.
Right? It's easy to say that, okay, I stand for this thing, and mostly those things are very not very quantitative as such. Do you use any tools to do that? Have you figured out any internal mechanisms to do that? Would love to know on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming to your first question towards inventory, right? So I've been running this, I mean, from retail and then trading and then manufacturing. So I know what kind of dead stocks you could have being in the apparel industry. So from day one, we always believed in, widening our bandwidth towards the number of SKUs that we have. Today, we have over 1,500 products on the website with a very smaller inventory number. So whenever we start off with any style, we are anywhere between 50 to 200 pieces now. Earlier, it was just between 25 to 70 pieces. So what we do is obviously create content towards every product that we launch, and plus, try and gauge in some kind of a hype that this is going to be dropped, on a Wednesday, and this is a product that you would get on a Friday, and try and create some kind of demand. And pertaining those demands, we obviously increase our production once the product is live. We've kept triggers everywhere, like, third day of my inventory being live, what is the kind of sell-through that I have? If 30% is sold, then there is an automatic trigger that goes to the production unit that, this inventory is going to last you only for 10 days. Please hurry up and start the production phase of this particular design or this particular SKU. And similarly, if 15-20 days the product is not moved, it goes to the liquidation channel. A trigger goes to the liquidation channel that, hey, this product is not moving. Either you push this up on the page so that there is visibility. Post the 45 days, we even try and give some kind of discount to liquidate it. And we've kept trigger at a 75-day, wherein automatically that product would go to our liquidation channel, which is a B2B portal of ours. Where a number of retailers are connected who would directly buy these shirts off the counter. So we've maintained 75 to 90 days of inventory. usually during festives it is at 90 days because we want to be heavy on the inventory. Typically between 60 to 75 days is what our inventory model is. So this is towards the inventory, and we've been, I mean, look, no matter what I say, you would have 5 to 7% of dead stock. So this is like a termite which cannot be removed. But yeah, we've been very lean on the inventory part.
Mhm.
And secondly, in terms of tools, right, like you told us, so whenever like we started, whenever we started, we didn't have anything apart from Shopify. Derived a few plugins that were there, like to confirm your order, etc. Through Shopify itself, there were a few plugins that we could use. So that is how we understood the entire process. How does this happen, and then replicated this through a bot on WhatsApp. So as soon as you like place an order, I mean, much before now GoKwik is coming, and obviously you're solving a major problem from this end. But when we started, obviously GoKwik wasn't there, or I think it was very new until we connected, right? So when we started the bot very early on, because one thing I always knew was, if you are competing with the big guns, right, like a Myntra or an Ajio, your tech at least needs to be at par. No matter you do what kind of jugaad you want to do to make it cost effective, but it needs to be at par, at least the kind of service that you want to give. So we started off with a bot, basically on WhatsApp, which as soon as you place an order would send you a message, hey, kindly confirm your order, and your order would be delivered within so and so date, etc. So a customer had a choice to either confirm the order or cancel the order right there, or convert it into a prepaid and get incentivized. So all those options were readily available. Once it is shipped, we made sure that we ship it within 24 to 48 hours initially. Now we do it much early, about within 8 hours. Again, like I told you, our initial warehouse was like two racks in the corner of our office, wherein we manually used to plug out the order and ship. And then we shifted that entire floor as a warehouse. Then we took another floor. Then we took an entire building opposite our office. Over 1 year, we were working there. Again, it was very manual, very difficult. We were losing on orders because we couldn't find products. That's when we thought we need to bring in some kind of technology and a bigger space. Now we have a state-of-an-art warehouse on the outskirts of Bangalore, which is at 30,000 square foot, which is highly automated, and you could ship at least 7 to 10,000 orders in one single shift.
Oh, wow.
So we were always prepared for that scale, and we invested there. A lot of people actually in the organization as well as outside told me not to do this. Why are you increasing your cost? But my simple calculation was, if I'm going to ship, say, about 70,000 orders or 80,000 orders a month, and if I have to outsource it, it's anyways going to cost me anywhere between 10 to 14 lakhs. While I'm doing it in-house, I'm again, serving about 8 to 10 lakhs itself. So there was a saving as well as element of faith that it is under your control and becomes very easy. And now I think even shipping has been very convenient. Any corner of India, you could just, get it delivered within 2 to 3 days. So towards warehouse, again, we went on integrated Unicommerce that helped us, get onto marketplaces as well as ship orders very seamlessly without any mistakes. In terms of, again, like I told you, initially there was no GoKwik. So our COD percentage was, again, very high. We tried incentivizing on WhatsApp, but the conversion was not really, high, because obviously it's another flow that you're sending out, and people are very lazy in India to do that. Then you came up with a solution wherein, you provided a one-click checkout. That process automated. Today we are at a 60-40 ratio. When we started, we were 10% prepaid, 90% cash on delivery. Today we are 60%, prepaid, 40% cash on delivery. That helped us immensely in reducing our RTO as well. I mean, there have been various kind of tools that we've been using over the period, over the course, depending on the kind of situation we are at.
Interesting. And I super appreciate the kind call out, Siddharth. I think it just eggs us on to come good on those value metrics going forward as well. One of the things which is always close to my heart has been, as a shopper, when I was personally making the switch to shopping off Myntra, off Amazon, off Flipkart, was how good the overall customer experience is for me, right? And I've always wanted to pick the brains of a founder such as yourself. Is what were the top 1, 2, 3 things that you want to bring parity to, you know, so that when someone comes on board your D2C channel, they feel at home, right? It's like shopping on one of these well-established marketplaces. So just let us in on that piece a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the first and foremost thing is the product itself, right? You need to be at par with the right price point to even be able to reach out to audiences. So number one thing is your product itself. Take your feedbacks really seriously. Any kind of review, I mean, even till date, I go through each and every review that is posted on the website. So every single day, 1 hour is spent just on the reviews to understand, especially the bad ones. So I use the filter going by the lowest one, and then becomes easy for me to track what are the bad ones and try and improvise on the product end at least. Because fashion is so vast, and sometimes cloth is something that is not controllable. I mean, if you're buying 10 rolls of a fabric, the shrinkage of each might be varying by 1% or 2%. You need to control all these things and things like that. So I think the first and foremost thing is the product itself, and how serious are you about the business. Getting in terms of getting your product right. Once you have the product right, then you have to find customers. So obviously, how do you want to engage with them? One is obviously the push marketing, which is performance marketing. Again, in terms of performance marketing, we've got a lot of parameters in terms of whom do we want to show what. Like if you bought a shirt, we would try and cross sell you a denim and not keep bombarding you with shirts. If someone's bought a denim, and would try and the next best alternative for him is a t-shirt. How do I even sell him a t-shirt? So these kind of plugins and these kind of pixels that we've generated over 2 years, we've been utilizing them in terms of upselling and cross-selling. And I think the most important thing is engaging with your customers, right, on social media. And how do you do that is towards curating good content and keeping it multilingual and not just English. At least in India, we've tested this also. We've kept one single content in English, in Hindi, and in other regional languages. The Hindi outperformed everything else. So we were in fact shocked that this has happened, but it becomes very easy, right, and very convenient for you because it hits you directly to your head with the Hindi words itself. Like if I just say new styles every single day or discover yourself, that will not actually engage you. But for example, if a person is just telling me he's unboxing that entire thing and he's speaking in your local language and talking about the product, you just get connected to him.
Yeah, the recall is higher.
Yeah, the recall is really high. So in terms of that your content strategy needs to be really strong, and not that you're just bombarding it every single day. You need to give breaks. You need to understand how much are you going to spend on branding, how much are you going to spend towards performance, how much are you going to spend towards retention. You need to just plan these things out. I mean, initially it was 90% performance, 10% branding. Now we do about 70% of performance, 30% towards branding.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah.
Which is a great sign. It just is a testament to the fact that the brand is needing less of push and can do all fine by itself on the pull channel.
Yeah, I mean, just through retention, we have a repeat rate of about 48 to 50%, which is phenomenal for an apparel brand.
Yes, fairly high, very high, almost unheard of numbers. Great.
Siddharth, I think you have dropped in between a lot of pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
Just because you built the business, grounds up. About those nuances in terms of when do you pull in performance, when do you use pixels, all of that typically, which is fantastic. And I have a lot of questions. I'm personally very intrigued. But I think I'll first go on to, I think what you also mentioned, fashion, globally reels with returns as a phenomenon, right? I would go to an extent and say that, some people have said that at least in fashion, returns is a accepted behavior, right?
Correct.
How have you controlled it? What are your levels today in terms of returns, and how have you controlled it? Because you mentioned that, that's one of the brand promises which you live with. How have you gone about it in terms of solving for that pain point? Because it's not only painful for customer, it's also bleeding for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, when we started, right, we were at a 45-48% return rate, including the RTO. And when I Googled, it said, usual marketplace like a Myntra or a Flipkart does 40 to 45%. So we were like, okay, I mean, we are at par with them. But then back of the mind, there was another thought. Why not, just pull in that data, understand. I mean, earlier we did not have those reasons on the website itself. And now we take this very seriously in terms of a return and exchange. We make sure that we at least ask these basic questions like, was it the quality of the product? Was it the size? Is it too big? Is it too small? And also bifurcate that to as many as questions that we could do, but not making it very painful as well. So the first thing that we ask is the reason for return. If a customer chooses the product itself, then we ask them what specific was there. They could either comment or select from the options that are available. In terms of size, then is it too big? Is it too small? And then we just generally ask them their height as well, just to understand, the body structure. And then obviously that data we look at very seriously. And our customer returns itself was about 17-18%. Today we brought it down to about a 10%. Our aim is to bring it down below 5% in the next 2 or 3 quarters. And we've the biggest differentiator, I think, what we did was towards putting size chart as per the product. Usually what happens is apparel, right? If there is a shirt, usually my size chart for the entire shirt should be the same. But then, like I told you, there are shrinkages. If it is a linen, it will be more, the nature of the fabric is such that it will be a little more relaxed. If it is a viscose, it might just shrink in a little bit. By just doing this, we could reduce about 3 to 4% of our returns by just putting actual measurements of the product itself. So that was the one thing that we did. Second is the product description. So earlier on, it was just like, a cutaway collar, a hemmed bottom. There was no detailing towards that. But then we understood that, the content of the fabric needs to be mentioned so that customer is already imagining what kind of fabric is he getting. If it is a lycra, you mention that. If it is, polyester, you mention that. If it is, whatever kind of fabric, you mention that, so that he could at least imagine. And we put it in general terms, and not even if it is lycra, we put lycra bracket stretch. So आम आदमी को वो समझ में आ जाएगा. If I put elastine, then it becomes, he will have to Google and see ये क्या होता है.
Yeah.
We did all of that towards the product description, which automatically helped us again reduce the percentage. And in terms of RTO, obviously we put in a lot of plugins on WhatsApp, and plus now we have GoKwik. So all of that to put in together, today the overall return percentage with RTO is at about 24 to 25%.
Wow, that's a huge reduction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be very honest, coming from a very different background, I did not even know the meaning of RTO. तो वो जब पहले दिन आया ना, मैंने पूछा था ये क्या है बे. So he's like, sir, this is RTO. This means return to origin. And that's how I understood that entire flow.
So this is, I can clearly imagine that, there are advantages of not coming from that business. For example, I also came from a non-tech world to now building a tech business. And I question people from first principle that, okay, why is this not possible?
Absolutely.
I totally imagine that you have also built the business first principles, have measured feedback very methodologically, and then questioned that, okay, let's improve. I think that's a fantastic way, which is how at least I have seen personally, traditionally, business is being built, right? There is no one set playbook, as it is said in, McKinsey playbooks, etc. that
Yeah.
this is how you build a business.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? This is more philosophical domain, but
Huh.
a quick 2 minute, I think, on what have been your learning building this fantastic business.
But I think it is just sticking to your basics and not overdoing a lot of things, not overthinking a lot of things. In terms of investor kab aayega, kab main ye kar dunga. So just keep doing what you know the best, right? And I think the biggest challenge for us was team building. From 4 we were 8, and then 12, and then we reached 100, and making sure that everyone is in align with the thesis of the brand, and how serious are they about their jobs, or how serious are they about the kind of passion that we put into the business. Are they equally passionate about it? I personally take a lot of comments on myself as well. When it comes to the organization, I would genuinely ask them, what is the kind of feedback that you would want from us, to every employee, for that matter. I think, I'm a Bhania and I'm a Marwadi, and मेरे को यही सिखाया है कि business means earning money. So that has been a conventional thought in my head, and it has been like infused inside me that भले आप 1 रुपए कमाओ, but it needs to be there. You cannot go minus 1 rupee at any time, and that is how we maintained. Being bootstrapped, scaling at a 120, 140 crore ARR is not easy, and obviously that this means that we had to be profitable at least to keep growing month on month. So I think, there is no philosophy or anything. It is just sticking to your basics and knowing the basic aesthetics of doing a business.
Fantastic. I think all of us need to learn this, especially I think when macroeconomic environments turn, and we have to get into the get fit mode. I keep telling our team also that there is only one way of doing the business. Let's not get confused.
Absolutely.
At least it works in the same way, and and which also brings me to another point, which I think at least VC funded businesses think about it a lot or hear about it a lot is that are you going to do this as a full stack business, wherein you started with B2B and then ended up doing manufacturing, warehouse on your own, right? Which is what you were telling, that why shouldn't I do warehouse myself if I can save additional 2 lakhs?
Correct.
Right? So and I have seen entrepreneurs saying that I don't want to do this because it's a different line of a business, different DNA business, all of that stuff. And I think you haven't thought about it that way. You clearly said that this is my line of business. If it means full stack in somebody else's dictionary, then be it. I can serve my customers this way in a much more profitable as well as in the nicer way.
Absolutely.
Fantastic, man. I'm super stoked.
The most important decision for me was to make, when we thought about the warehouse, to get it outsourced or have it in-house, was the employees that we had actually hired for this purpose. Right during in the middle of the pandemic, I did not want those 15-20 people to go away. So that was the very basic thought that we wanted. These guys have worked day and night. They've done 24-hour shift for us, slept in the warehouse during the lockdowns, and done the packaging. You couldn't tell them, "Hey boss, मैं अभी बाहर ले रहा हूँ, आप निकलो यहाँ से." So just as in basic ethics, towards the business. One of the main reasons was that, and obviously it was more of the unit economic as well, that we thought that we would be reaching in a year's time, and how could we cover this cost up building this warehouse. And I think it is always very important to have the entire control of your business, right? During COVID, we've seen a lot of brands not dispatching orders. Why? Because the third party has denied shipping. So there were a lot of factors that we thought of before thinking that everything towards this business needs to be in our control.
Mm-hmm.
Superb.
I think it's not only. I think it'll be not only inspiring for people, to listen to about the journey you've made, Siddharth. And I think it's also important for enablers such as us, Chirag and I. There's a lot of insights to take. That what do we build for? What are some of the things which for you are more friction prone still, even today? And how can we add more value to those small pieces as we move along? One last question from my end before I put an end to my list, of course, is there's a lot of buzz around D2C's prospects in the coming year, and is the tailwind that D2C saw because of COVID, is that slowing down, right? What are your thoughts about that, and what are some of the growth drivers according to you that would be critical not only for a Snitch but also for the D2C industry as a whole?
Yeah, I strongly believe there is if your business is something that you are very passionate about, you would do something very different from others and start scaling from there on. And especially in our case, it has always been that, especially in my journey, I've been stuck twice, converted those into opportunities, and then started building from there on. Whether it was 2012 when I got stuck with fabric, converted that into an opportunity, started production. Again, 2020 got stuck with inventory and converted that into a D2C channel itself. So I don't think so D2C will ever fade off. I think this is just the start. Maybe, due to the kind of investments people were getting, due to the kind of valuations people were getting, a lot of them usually get carried away by that, especially the young founders who are just starting that, they want to first raise money before they even get their PMFs. So I think it is very important that you get all of this right. I mean, I am no one to say that VC money is not good. It is very good. If you're getting it, that means that you are fully you deserve it, and that's why anyone is going to put in that money. But towards unit economics, I am a strong believer that you need to at least be EBITDA zero, but not an EBITDA negative. At least in the consumer space, towards tech, etc., you could be, but at least when you're selling a product, buying and selling or trading, then you need to at least be an EBITDA 1% is also okay, but you need to be positive. So it gives a huge confidence to the entire team, to yourself, etc.
Right.
In terms of growth, I think going omni is the only way out for every brand, right? You need to be present wherever your consumers are. We would also start off with our offline journey. In fact, I was talking to Chirag also in Goa. I in fact asked him a couple of things that we wanted. So yeah, I mean, we just started marketplace a couple of months back. Towards the start, I was a little hesitant towards marketplaces, the kind of returns, etc. But for growth, you need to do that, right? And make sure that it's not hampering your own website and app, as well as try and grow there as a separate brand altogether. So we put in strategies. How do we scale our marketplace business? What kind of product? What kind of pricing? How do we keep that differentiator between a Snitch app and a marketplace, and without hampering each other's sale or performance? Obviously offline I'm very bullish about offline, at least for the next 4 to 5 years. I think offline is going to penetrate equally higher, and D2C, online is always going to be there. So direct to consumer means you need to be direct to consumer, whether it is online, offline, you're selling it on a footpath, or you're selling it in a showroom, or you're selling it online. You just need to be directly associated with the consumer. And so I think just being present wherever your customers are and doing the basics right will help any business scale.
Yeah, so essentially what you're saying is be channel agnostic, doesn't matter, just be connected to your market. And yes, there is going to be some hustle, but then be ready to adapt, evolve, and survive.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
No, superb. Siddharth, there is so much to learn from you. I'm sure that our listeners are going to take this episode very, very seriously, because this is so much insights in terms of both business 101 as well as how do you build something D2C? How do you come out with flying colors whenever opportunity is not, or the tides are not turning your way?
Yeah,
Super fantastic conversation, and all the very best for future as well as offline stores coming up. And we of course continue to be your partners in your growth. Keep cheering you for your future growth.
absolutely, Chirag. Thanks a ton for having me. Obviously, I've been a great fan of GoKwik, right? Again, the way you have started, I don't think so. You still have an office anywhere in India, or do you? I don't know. But of course, from what I know is that you've always been scattered everywhere. It's not easy, right, to build businesses out of homes. And hats off to what you all are building, and I'm really bullish about the kind of problems that you could solve in the larger part of our growth journey.
Thanks. This is to solving more problems together.
Yeah. Thanks, Chirag. Thanks, Amit.
All the best, Siddharth. Thank you
Thank
for your time. And I'm sure we have enough questions to do another session. But until that time, have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.